Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 390 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game.
Now, from the audience perspective, how do you build a profitable business from scratch without a huge budget or boring branding? That's exactly what Colin will unpack in this episode, how he went from being laid off to launching a bold, unforgettable brand that reached 1 million a month in sales using crowdfunding, authentic marketing, scrappy startup strategies. If you ever wondered how to create early momentum, turn heads with your branding, or grow multiple revenue streams without losing your mind, we're going to have to listen to Colin. And our guest is Colin McIntosh, founder of Sheets and Giggles, a sustainable bedding company that has been featured on Good Morning America and earned Best Overall from Good Housekeeping. Colin launched the company at just 27 years of age and with a $284,000 crowdfunded Indiegogo campaign. And within 2 years, hit his first $1 million month. Now 35, Colin's entrepreneurial spark continues. In 2024, he's created sheetsresume.com, an AI-powered resume builder that helps millions of job seekers worldwide. A former Fortune 100 recruiter, certified yoga instructor, and someone who's been fired or laid off 3 times, Colin brings humor, hustle, and heart to everything he does. Colin, absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Got any favorite quote? I'm going to get to your tagline in a second because it is kind of funny considering what you do.
I've got a lot of favorite quotes. Recently, the late departed Pope Francis had and I'm not the most religious guy, but I did grow up Catholic. Pope Francis, he's also my confirmation saint, St. Francis, so I kind of had an affinity for him. He had this wonderful quote about the sun does not shine upon itself, rivers do not drink their own water, trees don't sit in their own shade, living for others is a fact of nature. Life is good when you're happy and is infinitely better when others are happy because of you. I adore that quote. If I were ever to get a tattoo, I would probably get the sun does not shine upon itself somewhere.
That's funny.
Thoughts about where you could put it, but no, I won't go.
No.
I love that. That's great. That's hilarious.
What's the business tagline for Sheets and Giggles?
Awesome in bed.
Well done. Well played. We knew you had a sense of humor when I saw the business tagline in the notes.
Yeah, I've played around with the periods in that. I've in the punctuation, is it awesome in bed or is it awesome in bed? You know what I mean? So I like to play around a little bit with punctuation.
Going through your own life cycle of being hired and then laid off, was that your main driver for starting your own business?
Well, you boys are Canadians, so you not know the distinct displeasure of suddenly losing your health care when a company has a bad quarter. And I have been in my early 20s. I chased success. I graduated from Emory University in Atlanta. I went to work at Bridgewater Associates, the world's largest hedge fund in Connecticut. Got fired in the first 5 months and was 22 years old in Connecticut, didn't know anybody. Ended up becoming a recruiter, ironically, for the company that hired me there. Ended up moving out to Seattle, hired myself at one of my clients in a biz dev position, got into startups, then moved to Colorado for Techstars 2015 with my friend's company that I helped found. In that time, I got fired from the company I moved to Seattle with, the CEO, and that's a pretty nasty story. With the company I joined when I went down to Colorado 2.5 years after I joined, we all got laid off at 1 p.m. on a Monday, as it happens in startups. It's been really challenging in my 20s to learn the fragility of your income, your healthcare access. At one point, I think my COBRA payments went up 10x from whatever I was paying in my last company. We have a really bad system here for people who are unemployed. I got really tired of living and dying by other people's decisions. I got tired of listening to bad managers and being subject to the whims of people who mistreated me. I really wanted to control my own destiny. I was 27. I had learned a lot. I had some connections. I had a lot of energy. I didn't have a wife, kids, or a mortgage. So I figured, let me start my own business and caught a tiger by the tail.
So just on a very brief overview, being my age, anytime that I heard about crowdfunding, it was on my mother's dying of cancer. Can you tell me why crowdfunding and how it worked?
Okay, I think GoFundMe right now, by the way, I'm pretty sure a full 2/3 of GoFundMe in America are medical bills. Healthcare tangent there for the US. We're not in good shape. Keep your system. Don't let them tell you it's better down here. I knew I had to do crowdfunding and Kickstarter and Indiegogo with big platforms back in 2017 when I launched the business. They're still the two biggest platforms for a physical product. And I just knew that no one was going to give me money for my crazy pun-based betting idea. And I knew I wasn't going to get a venture capitalist to be like, yeah, I love what you're doing. Let me give you a check. So I knew I had to prove it out. I had to demonstrate traction. I had to demonstrate brand value. It's actually really fun. I don't know if you guys are interested in the minutia of how to do a crowdfunding campaign. It's actually all math. If you need $100,000 in a campaign, you need about 30% of that on day one, so about $30,000. And if you have a $100 average order value, then you need 300 customers on day one to get that $30,000 to guarantee a six-figure campaign. And if you need 300 customers on day one, that's all going to come from an email list. It's not going to be your friends. It's not going to be your family. It's going to be your email list. And so you need 3% conversion on an email list for 300 customers, 10,000 emails. Once it becomes clear and you put the blinders on of like, okay, for $100,000 in pre-orders, yada, 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 I need 10,000 qualified emails to launch the campaign. Everything becomes very clear and you can just focus on what matters, which is gathering those emails of interested parties. And so that's what I did. And we ended up converting the email list at 4.5% on day one. We ended up having $45,000 day one, and that snowballed into nearly $300,000 campaign. And we were off to the races, shipped our first box 6 months later.
Who gave you the guidance in that? Was there a mentor?
We actually, in my last company where I'd gotten laid off, we did an Indiegogo. It was kind of like a Hail Mary before the wheels came off the bus. And we did, I think, like $150,000. That was with a team of 20 people. And I remember being so upset and honestly a little embarrassed that we spent so much time and energy of 20 professionals to make like 150 grand. It wasn't nothing, but it was just not enough to save the business. I have this big, long journal entry in my journal from that day when I was like 26, 27 about all the things I would have done differently with the crowd fund. So that was actually very beneficial for me to see and learn firsthand. I took all those lessons and applied them to this. And then there was a gentleman named Will, who I love. A shout out to Will Russell Marketing. He is the only crowdfunding agency I will trust in this entire space. There's so many predators out there who prey off of people's exuberance and optimism as first-time founders. Will, I trust with my life. He's my spiritual co-founder. And he and I did the crowdfund just as a two-man team and ended up doing 300 grand. That's what you can do with the right preparation. I've seen people do a lot more with smaller teams.
I can honestly say, after listening to hundreds, if not thousands, of elevator pitches, you're the first pun-based betting company I've ever heard. You've got to unpack that for me.
Okay, so we launched on May 1st, 2018 on Indiegogo, and there were two other betting companies that launched on the same day. And one was called like No Bullshit Sheets. Now, the funny thing is they raised $15,000 only. The other bedsheet brand that launched the same day raised like $50,000 and we raised $284,000. So that just goes to show like it doesn't matter date, time. In terms of why Sheets and Giggles and why bed sheets, there's really two answers. There's a smart answer and there's a dumb answer. The smart answer is that it's a massive market. It's, I think at the time it was $15 billion US market. It was growing 10% year over year. 38% of Americans buy new sheets every year. It's no brand differentiation, highly fragmented, no visual differentiation, no brand loyalty, no subscription base. So you can come in and take people off from other brands. The business model worked really well. I knew consumer brands and I knew that I could be the most differentiated brand in a big, boring space. That's the smart answer. The dumb answer is I was watching a movie called War Dogs with Miles Teller and Jonah Hill. And Miles Teller's character is selling bed sheets out of the back of his pickup truck. And this is like June 2017, I think, approximately. And I got so mad at this guy's character because he couldn't sell any of the inventory. He ended up having to burn it. And then the rest of the movie, he becomes a weapons dealer. It's like a 6 out of 10 movie. It's pretty good. And he ends up burning all his inventory. I got so mad. I turned to my ex-girlfriend and I was like, he did all this work, bought all this inventory. He didn't do a pricing strategy, didn't understand his demographics, his go-to-market, his product value props. I was like, you know what? Pause the movie. And I wrote a business plan for a bed sheets company that night. Whenever I write a business plan, I always buy a domain. I thought, what's a funny name for a bed sheets company? Bought the domain, and that was it. And then 4 months later, I got laid off. It's a dumb founder story. It's the worst founder story you ever heard. I've been obsessed with bed sheets since I was a child. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I hate my competitors that always retroactively make their founding stories the most lofty things in the world. Like, I'm trying to improve mankind. It's like, no, I have a great brand with an awesome product. We make an eco-friendly set of eucalyptus lyocell sheets at an attainable price point. We have a lot of fun with the brand. We do good. We donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to charity. And if you want to support my company, great. And if you want to support somebody else's, that's great too. Like, it's low stakes. And I love that about it, you know? So I wish people that sold a toothbrush on the internet were as honest about that instead of like, we're changing personal hygiene. It's like, no, dude, you sell an overpriced toothbrush. Like, tell us how you did it.
As a man who hates acronyms, can you tell me about your minimum
Viable product.
viable product? That's
My MVP for Sheets and Giggles, or for, I guess it was a fitted sheet, a flat sheet, and 2 pillowcases. That's one of the things I loved about the product to bring it to life. There's no Bluetooth, no firmware. My last company was a Bluetooth device. So this is very straightforward. It's fabric and elastic. The product is considered to be the most sustainable in the fabric space. It's cellulosic rayon, which means it's fabric made from plants. You take wood, usually eucalyptus. You use a solvent called amine oxide to break that down to a fiber. That fiber becomes a superfine yarn, and that yarn becomes a fabric that actually has a lower coefficient of friction than cotton, and that's, smooth to the touch, feels like silk, hyper breathable, beautiful, beautiful product. And I remember when I got my first sample made, and no one was selling this product in the United States when I started. I completely popularized this category. I remember I got the product and I was like, oh man, I'm going to sell the shit out of this. And I never had any doubt that it was going to be successful once I got that first box.
Do you find that you sell, is it like online sales or do you have a distribution channel speak?
Most founders will tell you, if they know their sales channels well, that 80% of their sales usually comes from 20% of the channels. So, we've set up like Walmart.com and Target.com, and we've set up, we've done retail stuff, and we've done B2B sales, and we white labeled our product for other bedding companies. But like 90% of our sales comes from sheetsgiggles.com and Amazon. And we own Amazon.com/sheets, which is a really great URL for radio advertising, podcast advertising, YouTube advertising. And so, yeah, the vast majority of our sales comes from direct to consumer on our website and on Amazon.
You have found a way to use humor. It's even in your name. Tell me about how humor built your sales, and how did you get on Good Morning America?
There are 2 different stories there. The humor piece, I think a brand has to be the founder. I don't think that I can be anything other than a jester. I kind of am who I am. And maybe a little bit of an outlaw, you know what I mean? A rebel, something like that. But for me, I was always going to be a jester brand. So I think founders need to lean into what makes them different and what makes them special. If you're a sage, a hero, if you're a magician, an inventor, an everyman, a romantic, like lean into what you do best. And for me, that's comedy and humor. From a Good Morning America standpoint, they also love the brand. They didn't just love it because of it. I think they knew it would resonate with their audience because it is so funny when you hear it for the first time. Michael Strahan, the first time he heard Sheets and Giggles on air, he almost busted out laughing. He has this amazing face that I just absolutely love. More importantly, it was interesting. It was 2020. We had just donated $40,000 to Colorado COVID relief. And we were, asked by Amazon if they could share our story with the world. They put it on Amazon Accelerate, on their blog. Good Morning America caught wind of the donation and reached out to me and said, hey, we love that you did this. We love that you're a socially conscious company. Would you like to interview for our small business spotlight for this November? And I was like, absolutely. It's actually a wonderful story. They interviewed me and a few other business owners. They chose me as the main person for the story. It's like a 1-minute segment. They came to my home. They filmed me in my bedroom, which sounds an odd sentence. They filmed me in my living room. And they also, my girlfriend at the time was there. She helped me with the whole day of everything. And now I just celebrated 1 year married to her. It was a really awesome memory of a big moment in my life.
Wow. You have all this on the go, and meanwhile, you have other stuff on the go. It's like you're a juggler too, and you've got side hustles. How do you manage that? Like you've got the fundraising done, right? You're getting sales, the engine's starting to breathe fire, and then you go, I think I'll start something over here. What led to that? What's the decision tree behind that? How do you manage two things running at the same time?
Well, I always make sure that I get what I need done for S&G before I do anything that's a side or a passion project. The real answer is I don't sleep much. I I have unmedicated ADHD. I would drink a lot of caffeine. Generally, I sleep maybe 4 to 6 hours a night, which is not great. My herniated disc can attest. But I get this huge burst of energy right around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, most nights. And I will say goodnight to my wife. I'll go to a local bar, maybe a Kratom or a Kava bar. They're up until like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I would work until like 2 or 3 in the morning. And that on everything that I have to do still for S&G, which is there's always 1 or 2 to-dos left. Or I will have time for a side project. And that side project can be different things that I've done over the years, whether it's mentoring other companies, or, doing local like compost food waste projects in Colorado, volunteering. And recently, I used to be a recruiter. I loved recruiting. I have a bunch of resume stuff that I put on the internet over the years, resources and guides and templates. And I built this big reputation online as a very trustworthy guy when it comes to giving good, honest advice about recruiting and job searching and resumes. About a year ago, the other key is to have the right connections and the right people in your life and to meet those people over time by treating people well in business. A buddy of mine called me and he said, "Hey, I love what you do with the resume stuff online. I see your posts and I see what you do for people. What if we built an AI version of your advice and put a wrapper around it and actually made a tool that could guide people through this very like confusing process?" Funny enough, this guy that called me is my former recruiting colleague who hired me at my first job 12, 13 years ago, the one I got fired from. And then he hired me as a recruiter at his company. He and I have a very special relationship. He's now a software engineer and I trust him completely. He's typed up all my best advice, trained this AI model for a few months, and it works so well and it helps so many people. I'm the Sheets guy. The My Pillow guy exists. I'm the Sheets guy. It is what it is. That's what everybody calls me. My podcast is called Sheet Talk. Here we go. As the rest of my life, I'm sure.
Still the sheet.
You lean into what works, and it's a sheety reputation, but it's mine. And so I put this online. It does charge people for a lifetime revenue because I can't afford to do it and have the ongoing expenses otherwise. But because it's a side project and it's not my main thing, I actually give it away to anyone who can't afford it. And that's been so rewarding. So all they do is just email me like, "Hey, I can't afford it." I just give it to them. I probably give it to dozens of people every day, just giving them access. I clean out that inbox at night before I go to bed. It's been so rewarding to help people on this journey. And I'm very, very grateful to be able to do this in my spare time.
Some people take on a scale up and then they start getting hyper-vigilant about the wrong things and then start going slow instead of going fast and end up stopping everything. And all of a sudden they find they're being given a banker's box. Tell me about scaling startups and going forward.
Honestly, it's very hard. I've mightily struggled with it. So I don't pretend to know all the answers, and I don't want to give the impression that there's one singular answer. I've talked to a lot of other CEOs and founders for larger companies than Sheets and Giggles. What I generally hear and what I feel is true is it's a huge amount of hours, a huge amount of passion, a lot of stubbornness, and a lot of rose-colored glasses and optimism to make it work. You have to be a little delusional as a founder to make it work. And you have to inspire people to come work for you and be in your corner and commit their lives and day-to-day operations to your vision, which is very hard. to do in general, and especially for good people who have options. There's a lot of different pieces of it. And then there's a huge piece of it that's just luck and timing. I started the business in 2017. It's fundamentally different to start a business now in 2025. In a lot of ways, it's a lot easier. I had to hire people for every single function. Now people can start up a one-man shop with AI and use AI for almost every single function. So there's going to be a massive fragmenting of a bunch of different industries in the very near future. I'm kind of interested into what that's going to look like. But overall, like, I don't really have a magic bullet to offer people. I think you have to have a very clear understanding of your business model. I think you have to have a clear understanding of your channels, both your sales channels and your marketing channels. You have to have a very clear picture of your customer, who they are, where they live, how they will find you. And you have to understand the two components of your entire business are the impressions that you get and the conversion that you get. That's it. Your price, you can only increase so much, which is the other component of revenue. But other than that, you've got impressions, click-through, conversion, and price. And you multiply those things together, and that's your revenue. And then your margin is your profit. If you understand those 5 things, how am I going to get people to see me? Are they going to click on what they see? Are they going to convert when they click? Are they going to convert at the price that I need them to? And is that price at a margin that I need to build a profitable business? If you understand those 5 things and you feel really strongly that you've got 5 locked in components of that business, I think you'll be in really good shape. People get into bad shape when they have bad margins, incorrect pricing. They don't understand where their channels are and how to reach their customers. They don't put out good content that makes people click through and learn more. And they don't have a good conversion vehicle on their website that actually captures the sale.
What have you learned not to do when you're scaling?
I've learned tremendous to do. I will never do direct mail again. I've spent so much money wasted on direct mail. Some people get great success with it, and I do not understand why I've spent so much money and failed on direct mail. Maybe I'm just sending it to the wrong people. Anyway, so I've learned to not try to hire your way out of problems. If you don't understand the problem, the person you hire is not going to understand the problem. You have to solve the problem and figure out the problem as the founder before you're going to be a capable hiring manager for that role moving forward. So do everything yourself, learn each piece of it, 80-20, and then you can hire someone into that role if you truly need someone into that role. Hire slow, fire fast, very old adage. I've been very attached to people. I have a hard time letting people go. That's been a mistake over time, sticking with people longer than I should have because I have such a personal relationship with them. And this is the worst part of business to talk about. I've learned some tactical mistakes in terms of over-hiring, over-committing to expenditures, not spending money wisely, growing at all costs instead of focusing on margin. And 18 months after I shipped our first box, COVID hit. And so here I am, a 29-year-old first-time founder, and the worst crisis in a century happens. I have a global supply chain. My goods are sitting off port for weeks. I can't get into port. I'm out of inventory. I'm out of stock. My COGS went up by 50%. The shipping, freight went through the roof, container costs. It's been a nightmare. And now this global trade war is a nice little cherry on top of all the shit that we've had to deal with over the last few years as physical product founders. So yeah, it's been incredibly challenging overall, and I've learned a lot. So I'm not sure what's most interesting to the audience, but those are some of the things that come to mind is how to navigate those problems. And I guess that's the number one thing. You're going to have tremendous problems when you start a business. Just don't let them consume you, and make sure you go to bed at night remembering the work will be there in the morning.
So with all this wrapped in and around you, I mean, you started different companies at different ages. You like being up late at night, so you're a bit of a night owl. How do you keep both mind and body healthy? There are days that are going to be surging, right? You'll go the extra mile. You're going to get sleep deprived, food deprived because you're finishing something off. But on a regular basis, what are you using to stay healthy, both mind and soul?
I don't know, man. I used to be better at this. I've learned that my generation is somewhat manic, and the Gen Zers are even more manic, I feel, because I'm like, man, I can't even keep up with those kids. I'm 35 and I meet 21, 22-year-old entrepreneurs and they're like, oh, you should like throw your WAP on Discord. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't like, what are you talking about? Like the things move fast when I was in my 20s. things move like you can't even keep track of stuff nowadays. I think the physical health is one piece. That's sleep, water. I've got a 1.5-liter water bottle. It's also a foam roller. Awesome birthday gift for my wife. Yeah, you know you're old when she's like, here's some water and a foam roller for you to carry her. Yes. I think that water, sleep, having a morning routine, having an evening routine. My morning routine, I wake up, I hang for 60 seconds. I do a 45-degree abdominal hang after that. I foam roll for a minute. I stretch every muscle group in my body for about 45 seconds each. Takes about 15 minutes. I try to drink 32 ounces of water right when I wake up. That helps my herniated disc not be so desiccated throughout the day. There's a bunch of different pieces like that. Founders like me can also be very obsessive about certain things, like hyper-focus. So I definitely get into stretches of my life where I will go to yoga every day for months, or I'll work out 6 days a week, right? Like every single day. And because I'm a night owl, I'll work out at midnight. I'll work out at like any time in the day. As soon as I have the time for it, I'll go do it. I guess I've kind of hacked it a little bit. I love listening to podcasts while I work out. I don't listen to music.
Another knack, right?
I listen to Knack. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm actually on a big history kick right now. I'll listen to these like 4 or 5 hour history podcasts over the course of a week while I work out. So I can think about things outside of my own business bubble while getting my body some exercise. So I have the luxury of being able to make my own mattress, pillow, and make my own sheets. So my bed in my bedroom is like a temple. Like everything is exactly the way that my body needs it for my chronic pain.
What tools have you used that you work through and that actually you use every day and that build your company and you're happy with them?
It's kind of a funny question because there's probably like 10 or 20 tools that I swear by. But to get to those tools, I've probably chased like 400 shiny objects.
Like those squirrels when they show up at the roof.
We have to put all of our chips right here, right now. It's a constant battle. There's a lot of comparison to other businesses. There's a lot of competitive analysis. There's a lot of like, what are we doing wrong that they're doing right? Is there some secret that we don't know? Every salesman is emailing you saying, your competitors are using this. Why aren't you? It creates a lot of confusion. The tools that I really love for an e-commerce business specifically are IntelliGems. I mentored them through Techstars. They're an incredible price testing software for Shopify stores. And so you can A, B, C, D, E price test, segment your audience by desktop, mobile, intent, channel. You can test discounts versus crossouts versus free shipping versus threshold shipping. That has been incredibly helpful to dial in your price elasticity. You learn a lot about your products. One color commands a higher price than another color. King is very price inelastic. Full is extremely price elastic. If you have a full, it means those 6 extra inches in your bedroom are really important, which means you have a smaller square footage of your home, which means you have lower rent, which means that you have lower income. It's just, and these are the little things that add up over time to be like, all right, we can increase by $20 and conversion will go down, but we actually should decrease the price by quite a bit and the revenue per visitor goes through the roof. So it's kind of interesting. So IntelliGems I love. And then I've been really big fan for a while of SEMrush, really awesome SEO, search engine optimization tool now with AI optimization. Really big believer in SEMrush. I think that they're doing everything right on the SEO side. And I've got a couple of apps that I use in the Shopify store that I quite like. I never like Shopify shipping rules, so I use Advanced Shipping Rules as an app. There's a bunch of random things like that. I'd use an app for post-purchase upsells. Somebody buys a set of sheets. After they're done buying, I say, hey, you mean the add-on pillowcases? If so, here's an extra discount. You can add them to your package before our warehouse gets the order. And those post-purchase upsells are really important. I could go into any particular tool in detail. And then Klaviyo is awesome for email marketing for e-commerce.
So in between new launches and flights of fancy, how do we buy your sheets?
I'm very easy to find. You can go to sheetgiggles.com and you can order whatever you like. I think we're out of a couple things right now, which is always frustrating. Q3 is always tough because you're loading up for Q4 and you're just getting out of Q2. And then, Amazon.com/sheets. And then for me personally, I'm not that active on social media. I don't want to find myself being the guy who posts every day about stuff. So, but I'm around Colin McIntosh, Colin D. McIntosh on social media.
I want to say thank you to Colin McIntosh, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. This has been a really fascinating conversation. We've talked about crowdfunding, getting product to market, the tailwind of it, how to price things accordingly, how 6 inches in the bedroom can make a difference. In the strategy of pricing it makes sense. It helps you understand that.
You just wrote my new ad campaign for me. Thank you.
Well, that's what I'm here for. That's the creative insight of the Knack for Business part that's kicking in here. But you know what? If this story resonates with you, reach out to Colin. He does a bit of mentoring. He might be able to give you some insights. I've learned a lot from this session today, as has Wayne.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KRATIVINSIHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayne@motive8u.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter u.ca, or his website, motive8u.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people: Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert; Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host; Jovan Strika from At Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space; then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner; and Wayne Pratt from Motive8u Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer. Please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.